This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
The more you listen,
the more we get into your head. Safety FM.
This is Safety Justice League.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for our Origins edition of Safety Justice League, the podcast. I'm Jason Lucas. I'm known for Social Media Safety Minute, content on LinkedIn, and as well as some other social media sites. And we're going to go around the horn a little bit and let everybody introduce themselves.
Hey, this is Nathan Brayman, known as #Redbeard on LinkedIn. Former USMC firefighter. I got my bachelor's and master's degree in occupational safety, and I've been working in corporate safety for the last about 8 years or so.
Hey, it's Abby Ferry, known as Safety Abby on most of the major platforms, mostly LinkedIn and Twitter, and a little bit of Facebook and Instagram, a little bit of TikTok and Snapchat as well. Mostly I just follow what Jason Lucas does.
I love that. Hey, it's Jason Maldonado. You can find me under the #Relentless Safety, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all those other fun things. I've been in safety for about 16 years, and I am super excited to be a part of this group.
Well, we are so glad to have everybody on board for this inaugural, this Origins edition of Safety Justice League podcast. The purpose of this episode is really just to kind of get an idea of how this all came about, how we got together on social media, how we formed this group, what this group is all about, as well as the future plans for this podcast that you guys are listening to right now. First of all, we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast. So let's go ahead and dig in, guys. Dig in and see exactly what it is, how the Safety Justice League was formed.
I got a text from Jason Lucas on LinkedIn, said, "Hey, give me your phone number. I want to call you." And that night, it was in October, and it was rainy and stormy. And I was walking out to my car. It really was. I was walking out to my car, and Jason called me. The rain's pouring down, and said, "Hey, we should record some videos together and collaborate." And that's sort of where it started for me. And we got into a pretty cool conversation and ended up recording a video that I don't think we'll ever do anything with, but it's out there. Well, it's not out there.
I want to see this. You have to share it, at least amongst the group here.
I'll have to find that one. That's #BSS.
Jason, that's vivid detail. You remember the weather and everything. Like I don't even know.
I'm like a baby elephant. I remember everything, and it's my.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I do not have that kind of memory. I just kind of I don't even know how it got here. I find myself on this podcast talking to you guys somehow.
And you're happy to be here.
I am happy to be here.
They told me to click the link.
Yeah, I just work here, guys. I don't have to. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not that much different than that. I got, Jason Lucas reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm building a tribe," and that's pretty much it. It pretty much all just grew from there. Got to talking to everybody, and one thing led to another.
That's awesome. I met Jason last summer at the ASSP conference after seeing his activity on social media and with that #Social Media Safety Minute. Social Media Safety Minute. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. Yeah. And we had this awesome background thing that would look really official at the WISE Lounge, the Women in Safety Excellence Lounge. And I said, "Jason, we've got to take a selfie. We have to do something." And I asked him for that. And then also to record one of his social media safety minutes in our lounge, which recording it, I mean, you kind of could tell where you were, but not too much. So that was my origin. So I can pinpoint the time because that would have been last June is when I really started to feel that connection with finding another safety person that was just as crazy about social media as I am.
And I have a confession about that. I actually saw both of you before I had met either one of you when I was there.
What?
Yep, I am the creeper over in the corner.
Yeah. Did you photobomb or selfie? That would be amazing.
That would, if I was in the original picture, that'd be great.
That's awesome.
That's funny because I was sitting in the Wise Lounge, enjoying the wonderful refreshments that only the Wise Lounge provides. And I'm sitting in there, and I was talking to some of the Wise ladies, and I was talking about this idea of a presentation that I wanted to do. And it was like utilizing social media to spread a safety message. And I was kind of sharing some of the things that I had done thus far to try to do it through the social media safety minute stuff. And it was them that were like, you need to tag team with Abby on that. Y'all would be perfect on it. And that's what had me reach out to you to see if we could get that going for Safety 2020, which we did. And we got accepted for. So those of you who are listening to this podcast, they're going to be at Safety 2020. Abby and I will be presenting at that one. How to tweet.
Yeah, it's a really great title that I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, and I'm really scared to click on anything.
It's awesome,
it's
though.
something about tweet, text, and gram, or tweet, snap, and gram, something like
Isn't
that.
it? I thought you had to read something about reaching billions or something.
Yes, because Jason did some research in doing the proposal for the speaking proposal and found the crazy stats about, I forget the exact metric, but it's something in millions of active users per month, MAU. And so when you add it up, you can literally reach billions of people by using social media.
How long have you been doing social media, Abby?
Oh my goodness. Well, I started using it as a free marketing tool when I was on my own as a consultant. So that was back in 2012. And I don't think I really started getting super into it until maybe 2013, 2014 even.
See, and I wish I had done that because I joined LinkedIn in 2012 and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And poked around and got a few job offers through it and stuff like that. But I had no idea even what we've done.
Well, I'm kind of curious to hear how about you, Jason Lucas, Superman? How long have you been doing it?
Yeah, I've actually been doing it since March of last year. I've been on LinkedIn for much longer than that, but I started actually getting active on it around March of last year. And I started looking at what people were doing on there and what the influencers were doing and like trying to see how that worked, but also how could I use what they were doing to spread a safety message. And that's kind of what birthed the Social Media Safety Minute, which is ultimately evolved, obviously, through some other social networks and into the involvement of you guys and collaboration into this Safety Justice League.
Yeah, that's interesting. I stumbled into really pushing stuff on LinkedIn in about June of last year, I think. I don't remember exactly when, but I started my website, isitrecordable.com. And I thought, I'll tell people about it on LinkedIn just to get the word out. And I started posting on the actually Safepedia's group. And they reached out to me and they said, hey, we really like the content that you're putting out in the group. And they wanted to talk to me, set up a phone call. And I was putting out like record keeping challenge questions, like if so-and-so's coming into work and they fall down the stairwell, is it recordable, that kind of thing. And so anyway, ended up talking to, it was Jamie Young and Tamara Paris. And they just suggested, hey, have you ever thought about doing videos, just shooting a short video? And I thought, oh, no, that's not me. I'm not really interested in that. Like I just had to kind of recoiled from it. Like, oh no, I don't want anyone seeing me, and,
but the beard is epic.
Right. Well, it's interesting because, I have this like philosophy that if there's something that you're afraid of, that's a good guide, that should be your compass, that you should probably do it. It's like, it works as a compass on what you should be doing. There's a great quote out there. I can't remember the guy's first name, but his last name is Campbell. But he said, "The treasure that you seek is in the cave you fear to enter." And so when Jamie and Tamara, when they said to me, "Hey, you guys, or you should consider doing videos," I told them, I said, well, it kind of scares me to think about that, but that means I'm going to do it. So I ended up just jumping in and going forward. And I think that's probably when Jason Lucas noticed me.
I think that about the LinkedIn posting, there's a lot of people out there that they use LinkedIn like as a trade magazine or as their newspaper, and they're consumers and they like I think there's some stats out there about the average LinkedIn user does not post anything. And so I think when there's people like us out there putting out content consistently, that in itself gets noticed. And then amongst this field of safety professionals, it seems like people are always looking for a new perspective or just something different to either be into or hate on completely.
Yeah.
A fair amount of hate for sure.
And that's actually how each of y'all caught my attention. Like Abby was saying, I knew her from the summer, so I knew the content that she was posting, and we were fairly interactive already on LinkedIn, but it was watching Jason Maldonado and Nate Brayman, y'all's activity and the content y'all were creating that made me think, okay, you need to reach out to those guys because they're already creating content. People already, and not just content, but good content, and it's good safety related content. And so reach out to those guys and see if they want to collaborate, because nobody was collaborating. All I was seeing was it's almost like a selfish pursuit of self grandization or whatever, that people were attempting to become influencers themselves. And so I saw not just good content from you guys, but I saw a lot of interaction with your posts. When people would comment on them, you guys were responding, you guys were interacting. I was like, these are the type of people that I want to be a part of this collaboration. It was actually Abby who came up with the idea of the Ask a Safety Pro idea, because we referenced BSS earlier, but really what that was an idea that we were going to do a homage to Patrick's basic dude stuff, and it was going to be basic safety stuff, and we were just going to point out sections of PPE or sections of safety stuff, and it was just going to be pointed out and then be like basic safety stuff. And then when Abby saw, when I sent her back to check out the reference material, she was like, that's interesting. That's it.
Not interested.
And then she was like, this is like nothing that I'm interested in at all. And she goes, but the statement that she said that was the best, she goes, there's enough BS in safety. Let's think of something different. And then she came up with the let's do the Ask a Safety Pro. And then that's kind of what started.
Yeah, any good safety professional is going to make an acronym out of what you're looking at. So yeah, I looked at basic safety stuff, BSS, and I thought, not the best, but because I can't just crap on something, I have to come up with an idea. So glad you liked it.
We all like it. We love it. No, what I think was so cool about it though is that there was no preconceived notions about any of this. It was just, hey, let's throw a couple video clips together and answer a really provocative question. And man, it just took off. Like I have personally, I don't think I've ever gotten that much response. But once we sort of united our powers, so to speak, and I think that's really where this group comes from, and ultimately where the name is. We saw something, and we found something that nobody else was doing, and other people, back to your point, Abby, they just want to consume it, and it's been really cool to see that, and to be able to share some of the knowledge that we all have and learn from each other.
Yeah. And a lot of it's just organic too, right? Like I know I have people all the time asking me like, how long does it take you to do this stuff? Or you're always on social media, or when do you work? And I actually wrote a blog post a few years ago to address the when do you work question. And again, I go back to Gary Vaynerchuk talking about document, don't create. So a lot of times when we have our Ask a Safety Pro question, we just text about it, and it's like, well, let's answer this question. Just low-hanging fruit kind of stuff, or just something that's at the top of mind, and just go for it. Yeah,
I think that there's probably a misconception about how much time it actually takes to do this stuff. They say practice makes perfect. I can't remember really the last time it took 25 takes to get something recorded. So, when we discuss what our question is going to be for Ask a Safety Pro, it's pretty much just somebody comes up with a question. We agree with it. Everybody records their 30-second to 2 minutes, Nate, I'm talking to you, 2-minute video clip. And then we send them all in and we get them edited. I mean, from time of receipt to creating the video that goes out is probably maybe, I would say if you added all of our time together and then the actual editing time, we're probably spending maybe 15 minutes to produce what we're producing. So people that don't think that they can do content creation are missing out. I mean, it's a lot of fun and it doesn't really take that much time, and it's good quality stuff. It's what
totally
you're willing
agree.
to put into it, So we have gotten really in depth into kind of how the origins of this group came around. And this is our first episode, our origins episode of the podcast. So I don't want to get too far into it before we talk a little bit about what we have planned for the future. What is this podcast going to be about? What's it going to look like? What can they look forward to enjoying on the Safety Justice League podcast, as well as Safety Justice League Presents?
So I guess I'll take that one. I basically get 5 shows for one with this podcast. You're going to see collaborative shows like this. Maybe we'll bring some guests in. We're going to do some quick rapid fire round robin type things where we'll do real time Ask a Safety Pro. A lot of cool stuff. But then each one of us is going to have a version of Safety Justice League Presents where we'll do our own little side gig, and I think that's going to be pretty cool.
What can I say? I'm still trying to figure out what exact angle I want to take. We'll probably be bringing some interesting characters in to interview.
Do you think we can get beard tips with Red Beard?
Like what, I mean, seriously, like what kind of oil should be?
You don't want to know my secret is? It's black coffee and beef jerky.
All right.
So I have some people in mind. I'm not going to drop names or anything because, I mean, it may or may not be super impressive and also may or may not end up happening. But I plan to use this podcast as a platform to be able to reach out to some people that I want to talk to, whether it's in safety, risk management, or maybe not even safety at all. Just people that I would like to talk to. It seems like, I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, but I think that there's still a lot that can still be said. And personally, coming from the women in safety perspective, whenever I would ask people for podcast suggestions, I would come back with a list of podcasts that are all men led. And so I'm excited to be, I know there's other women that do safety podcasts and industry and business style podcasts, but I do think that it's still an area that's pretty underrepresented. So I'm excited to bring in some, whether it's women, men, that I want to learn more from. Yeah,
and my general idea, or what my hope is to kind of play off of the social media safety minute standpoint and try to get some influencers that are on social media, kind of get an idea of finding out what works for them to spread their message, and then how we can use that to spread a safety message, how we can reach Gen Z and so many other areas. So the idea for me is to reach out to those social media influencers and interview them and just try to get an idea. Sometimes it might just be fun to ask them, what does safety mean to them? Because, maybe it just is how to be safe dancing. I mean, it's hard to tell, but that's really the path that I'm going to do. Plus, I know Abby and I are planning on doing a Road to Safety 2020 series, to where we're going to talk about our planning for presenting at Safety 2020.
Yes, I love those ideas about asking people that have no preconceived notions of what being a safety professional is all about and asking them what safety means to them. That's brilliant. I love it.
Another angle on that is for the people who are safety leaders now, the safety pros that are in their companies, what challenges are they facing? And then, maybe sitting down to talk to people to try to find solutions to that, comparing best practices. One person may have a certain struggle or challenge in their business where another person may have the solution for. And I think bringing those, like the meeting of the minds, finding out what it is that's challenging the current safety professionals, and then connecting them with other people who might have those solutions, or at least, ideas on how to help with that. I think that could also be really beneficial. And, talk to a lot of people, and there's like this common theme of very similar issues amongst all the different safety leads I've talked to. I don't know if you guys noticed that too, but there's a lot of common themes here. So I think there's a lot of veins of frustration and veins of just struggle that is in common with almost every single safety person. And if we could start digging into that and try to find a way to empower safety professionals.
I just thought of another idea. Maybe we should figure out how to set up an anonymous phone number where people can just leave messages and I feel like some people, I don't want to say it like a bad thing, but sometimes with safety, well, of course, there's confidentiality, and also there's, I'm blanking on the word, where people might just be a little scared to admit that they need some help, even though we all do, but maybe admitting that they need some very specific help. And maybe there's a way that we could anonymously get show questions that we could then bounce around between the four of us and come up with something.
I love that.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea, Abby. And, the Ask a Safety Pro submission form on safetyjusticeleague.com. That'd be a great place to submit questions that we could answer on podcasts as well.
Nice. Okay. Done.
I think that's perfect, because I've even gotten, on some of, I don't know, maybe some of my more provocative blog posts or videos, I've had the comment more than once, I could never talk about that at my company. And I think that's an important part of what we're doing, is that we're starting conversations that need to happen that, often don't happen. The safety can be very divided. And I think that a lot of times the tendency is just to get angry and pack up and say, well, I'm not going to talk to you. And I think the beauty of this group, and the thing that I love about talking to all of you guys, is that we don't ever do that. We've disagreed on things, and I'm sure we will continue to in the future, but that doesn't mean that there has to be any animosity or hate or dissension or anything like that. We're just going to have a really good, genuine conversation. And
I think that's where the whole justice word and Safety Justice League really comes into play, is that I think overall, obviously everyone in safety wants to make sure that workers aren't getting hurt. That's our just cause that I think we can all agree on. But then how we actually do that and implement that, it means something different to everybody. And I think as we've done this whole thing too, I know I've gotten some DMs or just direct feedback that people are kind of weird about the justice word. So maybe someday we can talk about that too.
What a perfect lead in, Abby, as we are going to lead into episode number 2, What is Justice? So we just want to thank everybody for tuning in to the podcast today and finding out a little bit more about the origin of Safety Justice League. Y'all have an amazing day. Thank you for tuning in to Safety Justice League, the podcast.
We are changing safety cultures. One broadcast and one podcast at a time. SafetyFM.com.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.